Today we'll be continuing our lesson on morality plays, focusing on the play Everyman, circa 1495. Just a little review first. The medieval period in Europe lasted from 476 Common Era to 1500 Common Era. Together with the mystery play and the miracle play, the morality play is one of the three main types of vernacular drama produced during the Middle Ages. The action of the morality play centers on a hero whose inherent weaknesses are assaulted by such personified diabolic forces as the seven deadly sins, but who may choose redemption and enlist the aid of such figures as the four daughters of God: mercy, justice, temperance, and truth. A plan for the staging of one performance has survived that depicts an outdoor theater in the round with the castle of the Tyndall at the center. Of all the morality plays, the one that is considered the greatest and that is still performed today is Everyman, which we will be reading today. Morality plays, they taught morals. It's called a morality play because it's meant to teach the audience moral principles. Among the most common themes is one that should avoid what are known as the seven deadly sins: pride, lust, greed, envy, wrath, sloth, and gluttony. Another is that even when a person gives into temptation, repentance and redemption are possible. Plays that emphasize the difference between good and evil also might be called morality plays. Modern day events have been equated to morality plays by commentators and writers. As examples, the worldwide economic problems of the early 21st century and the success or failure of various political policies have been compared with morality plays by people who think that certain lessons can be learned from them. We're going to review our vocabulary. If you reference your worksheet that you received last class, acquittance means satisfaction as part in the play Everyman as part of the sacrament of penance. Adonai is the Hebrew name for God. Allegory is a literary work that is coherent on at least two levels simultaneously. A literary level consisting of recognizable characters and events, and an allegorical level in which the literal characters and events represent moral, political, religious, or other ideas and meanings. An antagonist is a character or force in conflict with the protagonist. The antagonist is often another character, but may also be an intangible force, such as nature or society. The dramatic conflict can even take the form of a struggle within the protagonist's own character, so it can be an internal struggle. A perith means degenerates. Characteristics are a distinguishing quality, attribute, or trait. Cumbered is to obstruct or hinder. Deject means abject. Discretion, the quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid social embarrassment or distress. Guild is an association of men sharing the same interests, such as merchants or artisans, formed for mutual aid and protection and to maintain craft standards or pursue some other purpose, such as communal worship. Judas Maccabee is referenced in the play Everyman, and Judas Maccabeus, who overcame Syrian domination and won religious freedom for the Jews in 165 BCE before Common Era, believed that his strength came not from worldly might but from heaven. Liturgical drama is a short dramatized sections of the medieval church service. Some scholars believe that these playlets evolved into vernacular mystery plays, which were performed outside the church by lay people. Loft means praised. Mansion is a scenic structure used in medieval drama to indicate the locale or scene of the action. Mansions were areas inside the church used for performing liturgical drama. Later, more elaborate structures were built on pageant wagons to present mystery plays outside the church. Middle Ages, the time in European history between classical antiquity and the Italian Renaissance, from about 500 CE to about 1350, sometimes restricted to the latter part of this period after 1100, and sometimes extended to 1450 or 1500. Morality plays are didactic late medieval drama flourishing in England circa 1400 to 1550 that uses allegory to dramatize some aspects of the Christian moral life. Abstract qualities or entities such as virtue, vice, good deeds, knowledge, and death are cast as characters who discuss with the protagonist issues related to salvation and the afterlife. Everyman, which we'll be reading later, is an example. Continued. Moses' table. Medieval theologians regarded the two tablets given to Moses on Mount Sinai as symbols of baptism and penance. Thus, every man is asking to be numbered among those who have escaped damnation by doing penance for their sins. Mouth of Hell is a stage prop in medieval drama, suggesting the entrance to hell, often in the shape of an open-mouthed monster's head. The mouth of hell was positioned over a smoke and fire belching pit in the stage that appeared to swallow up sinners. A pageant cart was a movable stage or wagon, often called a pageant wagon, on which a set was built for the performance of medieval drama. The term pageant can also refer to the spectacle itself, the show, the performance. A play is a literary genre whose plot is usually presented dramatically by actors portraying characters before an audience. Plot, the events of a play or narrative, the sequence and relative importance of a dramatist assigned to these events. Protagonist, the main character in a drama. This character is usually the most interesting and sympathetic and is the person involved in the conflict driving the plot. The Quem Quiritus troupe, a brief dramatized section of the medieval church's Easter liturgy, the oldest extant troupe, and the probable origin of liturgical drama. It enacts the visit of the three Marys to Christ's empty tomb, and it means whom do you seek in Latin. Realism is the literary philosophy holding that art should accurately reproduce an image of life. Salvation is deliverance from the power and penalty of sin, redemption. A sermon is an address of religious instruction or exhortation, often based on a passage from the Bible, especially when delivered during a church service. Smite means to strike. A trope is an interpolation into or expansion of an existing medieval liturgical text. These expansions, such as the Quem Quiritus troupe, gave rise to liturgical drama. Vice is an immoral, wicked, or evil habit, action, or trait, and virtue is the quality or practice of moral excellence or righteousness. Does anyone have any questions about the vocabulary? Okay, so moving on. Now we will have a Socratic Seminar, which we have done before in class. We're going to start with the questions that I have provided. What do you expect Everyman to be about? Why do you think the play is titled Everyman? Based on your knowledge of morality plays, what type of lesson do you think the author is going to try to teach? And why did morality plays become popular in the Middle Ages? So we want to get in a circle. We're going to discuss these topics, and please come up with questions of your own to keep the conversation going, and then we will move on. Moving on. Everyman. It has origins in Northern Europe. The Flemish play, I will mess this up, so I'll let the computer do it for me. Elkerlijk. Dates from 1495. One of the really interesting things about this play is that the question of whether the English Everyman was translated from the Flemish play or if the Flemish play was translated from the English play have never been resolved. So they both arose around the same time, so we don't know which one came first. The author is anonymous, but it's theorized to have been a priest because of the themes and the religious aspect of the play, and the theme is fundamental, the inevitability of death. The structure resembles a journey that every man undertakes to see who among his acquaintances will accompany him on his most important trip, to the grave and to the judgment of God Almighty. Now we will assign characters for our read-through. So one or two of you will each read for this character, and we'll also need someone to read the stage directions. So the characters are God, Messenger, Death, Everyman, Fellowship, Kindred, Cousin, Goods, Good Deeds, Knowledge, Confession, Beauty, Strength, Discretion, Five Wits, Angel, and Doctor. So let's assign those, and then before we start, 5-minute quiz to see pre-quiz to see where we are at before we continue with our lesson. So quiz is done. It's time to start our read-through. Read-through is done. Now it's time to continue. So early performances of Everyman. We don't know a lot about the early performances of Everyman, other than it was produced in Holland and in England for about 75 years, beginning in the mid-15th century. Everyman was not performed for many centuries. It resurfaced in 1901 in a production under the auspices of the Elizabethan Stage Society in London. Shortly thereafter, in 1902, Everyman had its first American performance in New York. Everyman was then translated into German as, I will mess this up, I'll let the computer do it for me. Jedermann, and performed in Berlin in 1911. And then in 1913, Jedermann was performed in Salzburg, Austria, at the Salzburg Cathedral Square. And except for the years of World War II, Jedermann has been performed regularly at the annual Salzburg Festival. So we're going to watch 2 short video clips of modern performances of Everyman, the first one being at Portland Community College Performing Arts Center in the spring of 2012.
Thee availeth not to cry, weep, nor pray, but haste thee lightly that you were gone the journey, and prove thy worthiness if thou can, for weet thou well the tide abideth no man.
Shall I have no company from this vale terrestrial? Of mine acquaintance that way me to lead.
Yea, if any be so hardy to go with thee and bear thee company, but Everyman, thou art mad. Thou hast thy wits 5, which here on earth will not amend thy life, for suddenly I do come.
Oh, wretched Katie! Whither shall I flee that I might escape this endless sorrow? Oh, gentle death, spare me till tomorrow, that I may amend me with good advisement.
Nay, thereto I will not consent, nor no man shall I respite, for suddenly to the heart I shall smite without any advisement. And now, out of thy sight I will me hide. See thou make thee ready shortly, for thou mayest say, this is the day that no man living may escape.
So that was the first clip, and this is from the beginning of the play Everyman. Notice that they included music to help with the mood of the play. And now we're going to watch a short clip from a different performance in the spring of 2016 by Wilfrid Laurier University.
Everyman, we will not from thee go till ye have gone this voyage long.
I, discretion, will abide by you also.
And though this pilgrimage be never so strong, I will never part you fro. Everyman, I will be as sure by thee, as ever I was by Judas Maccabee.
Alas, I am so faint, I may not stand. My limbs under me do fold. Let us not return back to this land, not for all the world's gold, for into this cave must I creep.
And turn to the earth, and there to sleep.
Alas, what? Into this grave?
Yea, there shall ye consume, more and less.
What? And I to wither here? Yet, to remain and live on this earth, I may not. But before God Almighty.
So notice the different styles of performances here. It's the same play, and it has the same themes, the same text, but the style of performance, the sets, the scenery is all different. Some additional examples of modern performances of Everyman. We have the London National Theatre in May 2015, which, as you can see, they took a very unique approach to this show, and it got wonderful reviews, rave reviews. And then the middle image was at the Garden Theater in New York in March of 1903. So it was one of the first revivals of Everyman after the centuries in which it was not performed. And finally, we have Liberty University's Department of Theater Arts performance at the Tower Theater in March 2015 of Everyman. And as you can see by the image, they also took a different approach to the other plays that we have taken a look at, other performances of Everyman. Before we get started with our Socratic Seminar, does anyone have any questions about the play or about the earlier performances that we looked at? All right, so let's get started. Just a couple questions to get you guys into it. What did you think of the play Everyman? After reading Everyman, do you feel like you have a better understanding of medieval theater? How would you stage Everyman after seeing those examples with very different approaches to the show? How do you think you would do it? And why do you think Everyman is performed so often in modern times? All right, and that is it for today. Our assignments and next class, you guys will be writing a 500-word essay on what lessons Everyman teaches, and are answering the question, are those lessons relevant to today's society? Why or why not? You can have either viewpoint, but whatever you do, please defend that position that you choose to take. Next class on Wednesday, we will have in-class time to create an outline and ask questions. And we will have a Socratic circle to discuss essay ideas and discuss why the lessons may or may not be relevant in today's society to help you guys get started on this essay. Your draft will be due on Friday, and then the final essay is due on Monday. And between our classes and over the next week that we are working on this play, please continue to think about morality plays and medieval theatrical styles. Think about the lessons in the play Everyman. Are the allegorical characters present in your own life? And as a little bonus, if you feel like you would like to do a little bit extra, think about how you would stage Everyman and maybe write something up or draw out a design. I would love to see that. Thank you so much. And that is it. Thank you.